People are talking about Pochettino coming in to unite the club. Unite the club, my arse. His job is to win games. This is One-to-One with Simon Jordan. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and of course keep sending the brilliant questions in the comment section below. But let's get on with this week's show. It doesn't say anything for the rest of the league because there's an accusation specifically put to Arsenal about bottling. So the observation about what does it say for the rest of the league if Arsenal bottles, it says nothing. Arsenal should be disappointed. They shouldn't be basking in the reflective glory of finishing higher than they anticipated at the beginning of the season, because ultimately they've been in and around the top for the majority of it. Now, if they weren't disappointed, then you'd have to wonder why the ambition wasn't big enough. But notwithstanding that, they've also moved on. The question is, can they move on again? Because they're going to need support and help. It will come down to the owners, I suspect, in terms of what they're prepared to give Arteta. Because when you look at the run-in and you look at the games against Everton, Southampton, West Ham, not so much Liverpool, but you look at those games and think to yourself, really and truly, there should have been a significant total of points accumulated far greater than the ones they got. So you have to ask yourself, the coach and the players, what was going through their mind in those games. The Brighton game, well, everyone's going to talk about Brighton now and say how wonderful they are and how beautiful they are and how brilliantly coached they are, which, by the way, all of the above that they are. The same Brighton that got beat 5-1 the previous week by Everton. So every team has its moments. Arsenal were disappointing and disappointed, I suspect. I don't think it comes down to bottling. I think it comes down to the lack of nous from the coaching staff through to the players, and also a slight gap in quality at certain times in the season, i.e. the key component times, when they needed to rise above it. The unforgivable performance for me was away to Everton. But notwithstanding that, I don't want to use the term bottlers, because I think they've been beaten by a better side, and a better side full stop, that beat them twice in the league, so they compound that issue. But they've certainly come up short. So if you want to call them bottlers, you go ahead. If you want to hoist me by my own petard because I said that Harry Kane was a bottler in a penalty, I think that's slightly different. But I think that Arsenal have got to build, and I'm not sure they will. I'm not sure if this was the moment to cement an opportunity, but we'll see. Arteta keeps on evolving. He now has to look at himself and say, what could I have done better in that key time when it's Liverpool, West Ham, Southampton, Everton. Those key games have cost Arsenal the league. Not losing twice to Man City and not losing yesterday to Brighton. I agree with Roy Keane on so many things because I think he's quite forthright and says what he means and means what he says. Jordan Pickford single-handedly kept Everton in the Premier League last year, and at times during the course of this season has been incredibly good. I'm not quite sure what his points were about how big he is in stature, because I'm not entirely sure what he could have done about the bulk of the goals. I think he's a very good goalkeeper. I think, yes, he can be quite temperamental in terms of he looks excitable and gets aerated very quickly and bounces around in places and spaces that perhaps he shouldn't be at times. But there's an argument suggesting that Ramsdale could have done slightly better, with the first goal. And there's always going to be a situation where goalkeepers come into a point of question. It's about how many times that they do. I think Pickford, despite my previous observations on him, is a top quality goalkeeper. To suggest he's not, I don't know where Roy's coming from on that one, insofar as he has a legitimate point. Maybe he's making a point for the cameras because they needed something to be said that was strong and robust. But no, I think he's a top class goalkeeper. Whether he's England's number one, well, that's a different conversation. But I certainly think he's been of more benefit to Everton than he's been disadvantageous. Well, whoever you haven't got, or whatever you haven't got, may well be the next reason why you're not successful. Therein lies the landscape of football. Nagelsmann is 35 years of age. He doesn't know yet what he doesn't know. I'm sure he's a great coach, otherwise he wouldn't have got the opportunity to manage Bayern Munich. I'm sure also that he makes judgment calls that aren't in keeping with a top flight manager. You know, some of the observations about his propensity to talk to the media and have a girlfriend in the media that ultimately broke stories about Bayern Munich probably tells you that some of his thinking isn't right. As a coach, I don't know enough about him. I know that he's a top quality coach. I know that he's on a journey, and I have little doubt that given the credentials that he brings to bear and some of the personality traits that he has, he's going to be a very significant coach. But to suggest that Chelsea have missed something when none of us really know what Nagelsmann is capable of, because he's 35 years of age and he's been around for only a short period of time, and what we've seen gives us cause to believe that he's on a good journey and someone somewhere along the line is going to get the real benefit of his services. But that doesn't mean that Chelsea have missed the trick. Now, going on to the Pochettino situation, I'm in the camp that Pochettino is going not to win very much for you. Yeah, he might win you an FA Cup and a League Cup, but he's not been brought there to do that. He's been brought there to win the Premier League and the Champions League, and I don't think he'll do that. But given the state of Chelsea right now, and it is a state, and given the decisions that have been made, he will get some order, he'll get some cohesion back in the football club. People are talking about Pochettino coming in to unite the club. Unite the club, my arse. His job is to win games. If he wins games, that will unite the club. There's no big, big drama or sentiment of some huge achievement to unite the football club, because you've got an owner that will spend more money than God. You've got a preparedness to invest in a football club. That's normally the divisive element. So you've got all that covered. You just need a manager to come in, get the players that are clearly not playing for anybody, let alone themselves, to start winning some games, and that will unite the football fans and start them singing and wanting to support their team again and see them winning games. So, but then we go on to the final part of the analogy, which is, does Pochettino turn you into anything other than contenders? I don't think so. I think that Chelsea have all the materials and all the aspects to be far more than contenders, but they need to take this next step. Pochettino signs a 3-year deal, goes in there, makes the team better. Look, it would be very difficult to make the team much worse, wouldn't it? Because they are pretty poor given the talent they've got around them. So, Nagelsmann, Pochettino, you've got Pochettino. So that's where you go. Everything they can. If you don't want to play for the biggest achieving football club right now, in terms of English football, that may just do the treble, which will make it the biggest achieving football club in Europe, if not the world, that plays probably the best brand of football, with the best manager, with no doubt the best salaries and opportunities going forward. If Gundogan doesn't want to play in that space, then no, Manchester City shouldn't do everything they can to keep him. That is, by its very nature, everything they can. Now, he's one of those that is a very, very good player. I didn't like his attitude when he carps on about that they don't like the amount of games that they're playing and that the last people to be considered are the players. Well, the reasons why the last people to be considered is because you're the players. That's your job, is to play and then go home with a huge, great big bag of money, because the very nature of football has to play so many games so that it can give you that huge, big bag of money, which you seem to have lost a bit of context over. His form has been remarkable in the recent weeks. It might tell you that he wants a new contract because he's doubling down, but I don't think I don't think players at Manchester City are allowed to slack off anyway. I just think he's playing at his natural level. Man City should do whatever Manchester City deem necessary and valuable to the going concern, which is Manchester City. Whoever they replace, whoever they change, whether it's David Silva or whoever else they've had in the past that resulted in people saying, oh, he's irreplaceable. They've managed to move on. They've got the best coach. They've got a remarkable brand of football. They've got the best centre forward. They've got great players all over the pitch. They've got plenty of money and they've got lots of ambition. So all of those ingredients mean that Man City don't have to do anything besides give people an opportunity to perhaps stay in that environment. And if you're Gundogan, unless you want to go somewhere else because that's where your heart is, why would you want to leave Man City? Of course, unless they make you a derisory offer. I'm not entirely sure derisory and Man City's pay structure go in the same sentence. But we'll see. Right, that's it for this week's edition of 1-to-1 with Simon Jordan. Don't forget to let me know your views on Arsenal and the allegation of bottling, Poch landing at Chelsea, and Pickford being called a poor goalkeeper by Roy Keane. Keep liking and subscribing. Keep leaving your questions in the comment section below. And I'll see you next time out.